Hello, this is Yogeshwar 7000 again, and I'm back on my series on stories from the Puranas. And today we'll once again talk about the story from the Purana, which is in continuation to our earlier videos about certain mysteries of the universe, which King Janamejaya, actually Janamejaya is was a direct descendant of the Pandavas, and he was asking sage Vyasa, who, as we know, sage Vyasa is the compiler of the Vedas and the Mahabharata. So he was asking King Janamejaya, the direct descendant of the Pandavas, was asking about the mysteries of the universe. And the last few videos would explain you, in this series, would explain you as to what sage Vyasa told King Janamejaya based on his experience when he went to sage Narada, and Narada in turn told him what Lord Brahma had told sage Narada. So it's like a kind of a knowledge which came down from Lord Brahma based on his experience with the goddess and about the mysteries of the universe. He told sage Narada, and sage Narada told sage Vyasa, and sage Vyasa in turn gave this information and knowledge to King Janamejaya. So people who have not watched my earlier few videos on this, I will recommend to please go ahead and refer to those. That'll make it much easier. Not that if you don't watch them you cannot understand this. So based on the conversations which were happening between sage Vyasa and King Janamejaya, the last video talked about the three gunas, and the gunas were described in detail. And the gunas, as we all know, are the sattva guna, which is a sattva characteristic which is pure, the rajas guna, which is the rajas characteristic which is a little materialistic, and the tamas characteristic which is complete ignorance and darkness, which is the third characteristic. So this was explained in detail along with the description of the gunas with their colors as well. So that was discussed in the last video. So this discussion was going on. This knowledge actually came from Lord Brahma to sage Narada, and sage Narada gave it to sage Vyasa, and sage Vyasa in turn explained this to King Janamejaya. Okay, just to give you a quick recap. And sage Brahma said once again about the sattva guna, that the sattva guna is pure, clear, very illuminating and light, and the color is white. So please refer to the earlier video. Like I just mentioned, it gives a little more detail. And how to find out whether the guna is more predominant in you is when the senses and eyes and the limbs are felt very light. So basically without any heaviness, kind of, and the heart is clear, the brain is clear, then we know that the sattva guna is predominant. Okay, and the rajasic and the tamasic gunas are suppressed. And we discussed in the last video that one guna cannot stay without the other, so all the three gunas have to be there in any living being. So he'll have sattva guna, he'll have rajas guna, and he'll have tamas guna, although the characteristics of these three gunas are totally different, but all these three will be there. Now, like I just explained, that in case the sattva guna is the predominant one, then it is pure, clear, the body and the heart and the senses and the eyes feel very light. Okay, there's no heaviness. The mind is very clear. And then we know that the sattva guna is predominant. And when there is a tendency to, you know, yawn and be a little more materialistic, and when there is kind of some kind of a rigidity in oneself, it's not light and there's slight heaviness, and you know, the limbs and the body and the heart and the mind is not so light, then we know that the Rajasic quality has taken predominance over the other qualities. Once again, the other qualities still have to be present, which is the Sattva and the Tamas Guna. And once we know that a person just likes to quarrel and find faults amongst people, and he's always restless and ready to fight, then his body will feel heaviness, and that's when we know that he's wrapped as if though by heavy darkness, and the limbs and the senses are also very heavy and not clear, and the mind is kind of vacant and blank. And then we know that tamas has increased too much in a living being. Okay, so these are the ways Lord Brahma has told sage Narada that you can figure out which quality has taken predominance. Okay, and of course, after Lord Brahma tells this to sage Narada, Narada tells this to sage Vyasa, and sage Vyasa tells this to King Janamejaya. Okay, so this was what we have been discussing so far. And then the one question which sage Narada asks Lord Brahma is that, now you have described the different characteristics of the three gunas, but how can they all act in conjunction? Because you're saying that all the three gunas have to be present in any living being. Okay, a person cannot have just one guna and not the other two gunas. He'll always have three gunas, although one guna is going to be predominant. But how do these guna act in conjunction? I mean, because we are living beings, and if the three gunas are present, they have to act in conjunction. To which Lord Brahma told sage Narada that the three gunas are like, you can give an example of a lamp. Okay, just like a lamp manifests a certain object, these three qualities or these three gunas as a united thing manifest a certain thing. Okay, as a united quality, these three gunas act in union, just like you can give an example of a lamp. Okay, in a lamp, Lord Brahma tells sage Narada that there is a wick, there is oil, and there is a flame. So there are three things which you see in a lamp: the wick, which burns; the flame, which shows when the wick burns; and the oil, which is used to light the lamp. Okay, they're all of different characteristics. The wick and oil and flame are different characteristics. So he's giving kind of an analogy, an example as to all these three gunas work in union, although they are of different characteristics of different qualities. Because Lord Brahma tells sage Narada that the oil is totally different from fire. They're different qualities. Fire is basically Agni Tattva, or a fire element, and oil is cool. It is not hot. Okay, it's not an Agni Tattva, it's not a fire element. Still, it unites with fire when you see a lamp, a lit lamp with the flame. Okay, so oil, wick, and fire, they all run against each other, different qualities, but all these united can produce light, can produce a common purpose. They produce, all these three, oil, wick, and fire, produce a common purpose of producing light or illuminating. Okay, so that's the example which sage Narada was given by Lord Brahma when he asks him, these three qualities or these three gunas are different, but how can they act in union in one individual or one living being? So that's the example. So Narada then explained obviously this to sage Vyasa, and sage Vyasa told this knowledge to King Janamejaya. So then the king was told by sage Narada, I'm sorry, the king was told by sage Vyasa that although you have told me that although I have told you these three characteristics of the three gunas in order and in detail, the essence of all this is, sage Vyasa is now telling the king Janamejaya that although I have told you about these three gunas in detail, the essence of all this is that the highest supreme energy or the supreme force, which is the great goddess, the Mahamaya, who is pervading this universe, who rules over this universe, is always with the gunas and without gunas at the same time. So sometimes the Mahamaya, the great goddess, is with these three gunas, and sometimes she is without these three gunas, according to different kinds of manifestation she has, or how she appears to the universe. Okay, so the supreme force, which is the Mahamaya, which is the great goddess, has to be worshipped with highest devotion. Okay, we already discussed about what the Purusha is, which is the male energy, which is the supreme Brahman. It is definitely there, and it is forever. It's undecaying, as it's been explained in the Puranas. Okay, by the way, all this is coming directly from the Puranas. It's not out of any story which is published either on the internet or on paper. This is coming directly from the Puranas, so please have firm faith and belief in it. So that's what sage Vyasa is explaining, that the male energy, which is the supreme Brahman, the Purusha, is permanent and it's undecaying, it's full, but it is unable to accomplish any action because it's without any gunas. Okay, it is the Mahamaya, the supreme goddess, is doing all the functions, which are either real functions or unreal functions in the universe, through these gunas. Okay, so the Brahman, the male supreme energy, the Purusha, is the highest energy, but then the thing is that it is without any gunas. Okay, it is without any desires or emotions. It's permanent, but it's without any desires or emotions. So the female energy, which is the Mahamaya, the great goddess, the supreme goddess, can accomplish what she wants to accomplish in this universe, which is creation, preservation, and destruction, through these gunas. She's the one. Sometimes she manifests with these gunas, and sometimes she does not. Sometimes she manifests without these gunas. Okay, which means that when she manifests with these gunas, then she can create, preserve, or destroy the universe. So she's the one who's doing all the action. Okay, and then sage Vyasa goes on to explain, King Janamejaya, that Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra, the god Sun, the god Moon, the god Indra, the twin Ashwins, the Vasus, as we know that there are 8 Vasus, okay, the god Vishwakarma, the lord of wealth, which is Kubera, the lord of the seas, which is Varuna, Agni, which is the lord of fire, air, the lord air, and Ganesha. Okay, they are all these gods. Okay, and there are, according to Hindu philosophy, there are 330 million gods and goddesses, but it's been mentioned here about the major gods like Ganeshas and the Vasus and the twin Ashwins and Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra, sun god, moon god, Indra. All these major gods are being described here, and that's what sage Vyasa is saying, that they're all united with the supreme goddess, the Shakti, the Mahashakti, the Mahamaya. Okay, and that is why they can do their respective functions. If they are not connected with the Mahamaya, who manifests with these qualities of Sattva, Rajas, and tamas, then no function can be done. They're unable to move themselves without the power of the Mahamaya. That's what has been explained, that all these gods are also united with the supreme goddess, which is the Mahamaya, which is the Shakti, and that's the reason why they can function the way they are supposed to function in this universe. Otherwise they cannot even move themselves. So Sage Vyasa is telling King Janamejaya once again that please understand that the supreme goddess, the Mahamaya, is the cause of this universe, okay? Without the supreme goddess, even these gods like Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra, Sun, Moon, they cannot function, they cannot move, okay? So what has to be done? You have to worship this goddess. You have to perform sacrifices in honor of her, and you have to worship her with the highest devotion and respect, okay? This Mahamaya, or the supreme goddess, is Mahalakshmi, the goddess of wealth. She is Mahakali, or Mahalakshmi is also the consort of Vishnu. As you refer to my earlier videos, you'll know that Mahalakshmi was given by the supreme goddess to Vishnu, and Mahakali was given by the supreme goddess to Shiva, and Mahasaraswati was given by the supreme goddess to Lord Brahma. So this Mahamaya is Mahalakshmi as well as Mahakali as well as Mahasaraswati. She is the goddess of all, and she is the cause of all causes. That's been very clearly explained. The cause of all causes. Whatever happens in this universe, Mahamaya, or the supreme goddess, is the cause. Whatever is caused in this universe, Mahamaya is the supreme cause for that. That's the reason. She is the reason for what's happening in this universe. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to keep worshipping the goddess. Okay, and then she is very easily worshipped because she's full of mercy, and when worshipped she fulfills all the desires of her devotees. Okay, just a mere utterance of her name, just say the goddess's name and she'll give you all the desires. That's being said by Sage Vyasa to King Janamejaya. So ultimate conclusion is she is the cause of everything, and the best way is to worship her, and she is going to grant all your desires just by utterance of her name. Of course, you should perform sacrifices and do proper worship, but even if you worship her with just uttering her name, she's so full of mercy. She's an ocean of mercy. She fulfills the desires of her devotees. Okay, and even Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, and all the devatas and the gods worshipped her to attain moksha, or liberation of salvation. Okay, that's what the final conclusion comes to, and that's what Sage Vyasa is explaining King Janamejaya. And there's a very interesting thing which Sage Vyasa tells King Janamejaya, is that I will tell you even one thing more than this. Even if one takes her name without any distinctness or improperly, okay, she grants the purposes. And these purposes, even if they are quite unattainable, even if these are quite unattainable, still these desires are fulfilled by the goddess, even if one takes her name without distinctness, which is improper way. Okay, and he gives an example of somebody who actually said her name or chanted her name in the middle of the forest, in the sight of a tiger and other ferocious animals, and he was supposed to say I am, which is the seed mantra, I am, I am, and he became so afraid, that person became so afraid on seeing the tigers and other ferocious animals, he could not say I am, and he could say only I. So instead of I am, he just say I. Okay, and even then she immediately granted that person's desires. And there's an example she is giving of a person by the name of Satyavrata on this, that just the mere utterance of the name of Bhagavati, Bhagavati is another name of the goddess I've discussed in earlier videos, will give results. Okay, so there was a Brahman which actually is being quoted here by sage Vyasa to King Janamejaya. Although he was quite an illiterate Brahmin and kind of a blockhead, and he heard that letter I, AI, instead of AIM, okay, which is the seed mantra of the goddess, I am. He heard this from an animal, which was being uttered by an animal, which was AI. And since this Brahman Satyavata was quite an illiterate Brahmin, he just, by accident, he uttered I, okay, and he even became one of the best pundits or knowledgeable. So I am actually is the seed mantra of goddess Saraswati, which is the goddess of learning. So what sage Vyasa is trying to explain King Janamejaya is that even if the mantra, the seed mantra of goddess Saraswati, I am, AIM, was not spoken properly by this illiterate Brahmin, and he just say I, he also became a great pundit. So that's the kind of power with the mantra of the goddess, and that's the kind of mercy goddess, the supreme goddess, has for her devotees. Now this was Saraswati, but we know that the goddess, the supreme goddess Mahamaya, actually is goddess Saraswati, goddess Kali, and goddess Lakshmi herself. So although this was for Saraswati, which is the goddess of learning, she's a part of the supreme goddess. So this illiterate Brahmin, even though he did not pronounce the mantra correctly, he became pandit, a good pandit, or a learned Brahmin, by the grace of the supreme goddess. Okay, and she actually blessed this illiterate Brahmin, and with her blessing he became a great poet. This Brahmin named Satyavrata, okay, he became a great poet, and he also became a learned Pandit or a learned Brahmin. So so that is the power of the goddess. So the ultimate remedy which sage Vyasa is telling King Janamejaya after explaining him all the mysteries of the universe, which came directly from Lord Brahma, not directly but indirectly, Lord Brahma to sage Narada, and sage Narada to sage Vyasa, and sage Vyasa told this to King Janamejaya. The ultimate conclusion is that in case we want to get rid of all our problems and fulfill our desires, we have to worship the goddess. And he gave an example of this Brahmin, illiterate Brahmin. Although he did not utter her mantra correctly, still he was blessed, so he became this Brahmin by the name of Satyavrata. He became a great learned Brahmin or a Pandit, and a great poet. Okay, so we'll stop at that today, and we'll discuss the story of Satyavrata in our next video in detail. What is the story of Satyavrata and how he was an illiterate Brahmin and how ultimately he was blessed by the goddess. We'll discuss that in our next video. So in the meanwhile, I hope you enjoyed this video, and in the meanwhile I will recommend subscribe to my channel, check out my website, there is a link below, and I will see you with an interesting topic in Vedic astrology or a continuation of stories from the Puranas in my next session very soon. Goodbye.